What is up, my brethren nerds? This week on the LARP House, I am going to show you how to paint scars and wounds on your face that will last all day using only alcohol paints. This tutorial is geared towards people who have characters that have significant identifying makeup on their face that needs to last all day. If you're doing a bunch of makeup for NPCs who might have to get out of it in about an hour, try using something like Ben 9 makeup, but the same principles apply, so you can still use this. Here at the LARP House, we are all about makeup that stands the test of, well, camping. And that is why I am using a Skin Illustrator alcohol palette. These are face paints that are activated by alcohol, and once they are on your skin, they are sweat-proof, tear-proof, food-proof, and waterproof all day long. They are an investment, but they will last you a really long time. Today, I'm going to be painting some gnarly werewolf gashes across the side of my face that I use for my character in the Southern California LARP Hunter's Moon. She is a 1,000-year-old shield maiden turned vampirate. Anyway, let's get to it. In this particular palette, you have literally every color that you could possibly need for wounds and scars and things like that, and blending skin. So this is my personal palette, which we will have linked in the description, the exact palette that I use. It is an investment, but it is so worth it. It lasts forever, and it's just wonderful. The only other materials that I have here are 2 paint brushes. Paint brushes, not makeup brushes. A larger round brush and a smaller round brush. A spray bottle full of alcohol, and a small cup full of alcohol for cleaning. Always work with a reference image. Mine is of a prosthetic because there aren't very many images of like claw marks because they don't really happen like that in nature so much. I got a really good, like really thick prosthetic that's got a lot of furrows and everything, so it's good to see the lighting. And if you can't find a good image, I'll link the one that I used, but if you can't find a good image, it's not that terrible for this type of makeup to just reference what I'm doing, because you're not looking for skin texture and imperfections in the skin, you're just looking for the lighting, basically. Let's go. Take your spray bottle and your palette and just spray that shit. And just make sure that there's a nice layer of alcohol on the tops of your colors. It does evaporate pretty quickly, and sometimes I go through an entire bottle of alcohol for one makeup application. You're just gonna have to get used to buying a lot of 99% alcohol. It's not expensive, but can be a hassle. Totally worth it though. What I'm gonna do is take a medium dark color and take my large brush and just mark where the wounds actually are on my face. I've done this character makeup a couple times. I already know where the marks are gonna be. If you don't, just play around. Find what looks the most badass. I got alcohol in my eyes once, and it was... Avoid it. Avoid it at all costs. Just be really careful around your eyes. I'm gonna go in with probably this or this color. Maybe mix it together. And again, we're still using the biggest brush for now. What we're doing here is creating the base, like the shadow. And I just kind of blend it out a little bit with my finger. Take note of what tone your natural skin tone is. If you have more yellows in your skin tone like I do, take 2 seconds, spray your yellow, and mix a little bit of yellow in there. Keep in mind that we're going to go in and lighten this up. Really, we're putting the darkest part around the edges of the wound, and then we're going to go back in with the darks here. I know I said start with the darks, but this is the darkest part in this area, so it's fine. I don't paint right up to my waterline and my upper lid. I go in later with lip liner and just fill in the mark because you don't want to go right up against your eyeball with alcohol paint. It's not going to be fun. The more alcohol evaporates, the thicker your paint will be, the harder it will be to blend. So keep it nice and thin for now. And you don't have to be so precise at this stage. It's really more about laying your foundation for shadows. Okay, now you've got a pretty good foundation. I'm just gonna clean my brush with alcohol after doing that, and I'm going to go straight into darkening up the real, like, the gashes of the wound. I'm going to use probably these two end colors. This is a purple. We're not so much about the purple. We're about this yucky, ugly red-brown color and the dark, like, congealed blood red color. That's what's rad. Basically, my thinking is for this specific character makeup is that these wounds are from a werewolf, and werewolf wounds don't really ever heal in this universe and in the Harry Potter universe, actually, so go crazy. You can see I've mixed some colors into it previously, but just stir it up. And I'm still using my biggest brush, but I'm going to be a little bit more precise here and try to outline kind of exactly where the wounds are. Whereas we were not being precise before, we were just kind of creating the shadows and the skin irritation. Now we're actually creating. Does anyone else hold their breath when they're doing really precise lines? I feel like that's a super bad habit, but I constantly do it. Where the fleshier parts of your face are, like the lips and maybe in like the meat of the cheeks, you want your lines to be darker because theoretically the claws would have gone in deeper where the flesh is softer. It dripped on me. Now I look like I'm bleeding. I'm gonna clean my brush with alcohol. We are looking pretty good so far. If you really want to be mean, you can go into your darkest blood red color. Really punch out those darks in the meat of where your flesh is at its fleshiest. You want to keep your lines stark and contrasting. Contrast is the key. Now that I've really added some meat to my reds, I'm going to clean my brush because we're going to go in with some lighter colors now. So I'm using medium tone here with probably a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow for my skin personally. Kind of a lot of yellow. But I'm just going in and I'm still using my larger brush right by the edges. Blend it out with my finger just slightly. What I'm doing here is creating a mid-tone between the shadow and what I'm going to add as the highlight later. This is basically, you want to be as close to your skin tone as possible. And again, use this color to really sharpen and clean up your dark lines. You want those to be as stark as possible. And if you're going for a kind of mutilated mouth like I have, it's important to get especially the highlights on your lips because that gives the illusion of a distorted lip, which is good. The uglier, the better. Oh no. And you may notice that I am just going right into my eyebrows with, you know, no conscience about it, and that's fine because I do my eyebrows as part of my character makeup after I do the wounds, so it's fine to make your brows kind of not exist for a little while, but if you don't do character makeup after you do your wounds, this just wipes right off with a little bit of alcohol and a Q-tip. That's all you need to remove this is alcohol and a sponge or a cotton pad or a Q-tip. Honestly, with this kind of wound, this character should be blind, but I didn't want to wear a contact. Oops, I missed. My lips are constantly chapped because I am always biting them because I have an anxiety problem, but if you're a normal person with a normal brain, this shouldn't be painful for you. Alright, we got a pretty good mid-tone on, so now I'm going to clean my brush, switch to my tiny brush, and honestly, if you can get a fine line with your larger brush, because it's round, you really don't have to even use a tiny brush. It's not about the brush you use, it's about how you use it. I'm going to spray the color that I was just using to activate it again, and I'm going to add a little bit more white and also a little bit more yellow. If you're lightening something up, you're usually also warming it up, so golden highlights are the best. Do not highlight everywhere. Prioritize your highlights. And again, where the flesh is meatiest is where you want to focus your attention. So, cheeks, lips, probably not so much up here. Don't just make your highlights super thin along the edge. Add a little bit of thickness where you feel it is artistically necessary. For instance, I'm going to keep the line super thin here, but a little bit thicker on the tip of the nose than the bridge. So super thin. Oops. Super thin, and then a little bit thicker. What I'm going to do now is go back in with that mid-tone. I'm going to darken up the color by adding a little bit of this to this, and yellow of course. And I'm just going to create a little bit more of a blend between the highlights and the mid-tone. Now all that's really left to do is a final pass with the very dark colors. So I'm gonna clean my brush, spray my two darkest colors here, promptly drop my brush, with my tiny brush, mix the two of those colors, and go back in and fix it up. And this is really just for any place that your lines got a little bit fuzzy when you were adding highlights or midtones. there you have it. Once you put your last dark touch-ups on, you are ready to put on the rest of your character makeup, if you have any. If not, just maybe clean up your brow with a Q-tip and some alcohol, but you are good and ugly now. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. Hello. Well, there you have it, lads. Now you've got a beautifully horrible disfigurement that everyone can ignore and awkwardly not talk about. But for real, I have found that giving my character an extremely identifiable makeup can be even more fun than the costuming at times. Not that the costuming isn't fun. Plus, I get to say, good afternoon, my name is Captain Mads, Ostergard of the ship Freya's Revenge. Please ignore the horrible disfigurement of my face, and what's your name? Whenever I meet new people. And the look on people's faces is what I live for. That's it for this week, nerds. Tune in next week to meet some actual characters that you would find in a LARP. Don't forget to check out our Etsy store and our Patreon page, because we really do depend on you guys. We are also on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. Like us, subscribe to us, fight with us.